Hello and welcome. I'm Lorianne Lumby with Authentic Freedom Academy, and this is our weekly spiritual service. Today is Friday, July 17th, and the theme for today's service is the flame of the soul. And so we're going to begin with guided meditation. So I invite you to close your eyes and to begin by drawing your awareness inward, to bring your conscious attention specifically to your heart space. And holding your attention in that space, I invite you at the same time to be conscious of your breathing. Following each breath as you draw it in and as you give it release, as you draw it in and as you give it release. And as you allow your breathing to bring you into a focused, calm, and centered space, I invite you to imagine in the center of your heart space an image of your own sacred heart. The sacred heart is often imagined or given the form of a heart with golden wings surrounded by flames. Flames that do not consume, but that reflect the vibrancy and the love and the strength and the power that is your soul. Imagine the heart as a deep blood red, and the wings are that which carries your soul's energy, soul's purpose, and soul's mission wherever it needs to be, wherever it needs to land, wherever it needs to be expressed or shared. And the flames that surround, that penetrate, and are reflected in that sacred heart are the flames both of the Holy Spirit, that which is the presence of the divine within us, and the power and flames of your soul. As you envision your own sacred heart, allow yourself to begin to feel the strength, the enthusiasm, the energy, and the guidance of that power. And as you hold your attention on that sacred heart, your sacred heart, notice that as your attention is held there, that the flames grow and expand. allowing yourself to begin to feel that sense of being filled up by that spirit, to begin to sense the movement of that spirit, that movement that is at once pushing and guiding, compelling and drawing you into those experiences where your soul is being nourished and fulfilled. Allowing yourself to feel the magnitude of that divine indwelling spirit. To know that through that sacred heart, you are filled with God, filled with the divine. And I just invite all of us to rest for a moment in that sense of being filled, in that sense of being supported in that power, feeling that sense of being carried in that power. As you continue to rest in that feeling of being filled by the energy of your own sacred heart, I invite you to listen to these words from St. Paul. Brothers and sisters, the Spirit comes to the aid of our weakness, for we do not know how to connect with the divine as we ought. But the Spirit herself intercedes with inexpressible groanings, and the one who searches hearts knows what is the intention of the Spirit. Because the Spirit intercedes for the holy ones according to divine will. As I mentioned, the theme of today's gathering is the flame of the soul. And I want to begin by talking a little bit about this idea of soul, as it's a concept that obviously can be interpreted in a lot of different ways. And I certainly don't expect anyone to embrace my personal understanding of soul, but I do want to share what resonates with me in case it resonates with you, because I think it really concretizes and makes sense of this idea of oneness. If our source and origin is in the divine, and if the human experience is an opportunity to experience our own individual and unique incarnation, and in that incarnation to have a temporary experience of being separate from source, separate from God, and if our journey of being human, the purpose of this journey is to have that individual experience, but at the same time, to be given the opportunity to return to union, to return to our place, our recollection of oneness with God. If that is the intent and purpose of the human experience, then it stands to reason that there is an energy, a presence, a power that calls us along that journey or compels us along that journey. And the best articulation of that energy, that presence that I've heard in my own research and studies and exploration and reflection is that's provided by the Hindu mystic Sri Aurobindo. Sri Aurobindo was a mystic, a prophet, a teacher, and in his book, The Greater Psychology, which is an enormous big book of very deep Vedantic thought, he talks about the idea of soul. And his description of soul is very much the same as the way that soul is described in the system of Jewish mysticism known as the Kabbalah. Both systems speak of the soul as the seed of God within us. In essence, it is the divine living and dwelling through us. Living and dwelling through us in this unique incarnation. So unique that nobody else can be Lori in this incarnation. Nobody else can be you in this incarnation, but that the divine takes on a specific form and reflection based on who we are as individuals. Both the Kabbalah and Sri Aurobindo speak of the soul as eternal, and both also speak of the soul as having a long journey with many different individual incarnations. So if we believe in past lives, the way that would be described is that there's one soul that has one purpose, and each individual incarnation is an opportunity for the soul to draw closer and closer and closer to its unique purpose. So each lifetime, if you will, represents an aspect of that soul's growth and development. And that growth and development is built upon in subsequent lifetimes. Another way of looking at that would be, I believe it's in either Zen or Mahayana Buddhism, I don't remember which one, doesn't speak of reincarnation as lifetime after lifetime after lifetime, but moment after moment after moment. And that every time we take a new breath and let that breath go, we have lived a lifetime. So whether we believe in reincarnation or whether we believe that there is one life and we are living and breathing many lifetimes within this one life, either way, we're talking about the divine as expressing itself through us. And within each of us is, in a very deep invisible level, an invisible knowledge of why we're here and what we're here for. And the more we attune to our inner self, the more we attune to our own intuition, meditation, contemplation, observation, the more we pay attention to that inward journey, the more we are aware of an energy within us that is pushing us in this journey, that is bringing us into experiences that support our mission and our purpose, that is bringing us into relationships that support our mission and purpose, that is bringing us into opportunities for learning that are supporting our mission and purpose. And that every single life experience, even those that we are tempted to judge as bad or challenging, are all there for the purpose of our soul's growth and development, and pushing us towards the fulfillment of this life's purpose. At the same time, drawing us deeper and deeper and deeper into ourselves. Because the more we come to know ourselves, the more we come to know and understand ourselves as reflections of God, as one with the divine. The more we know ourselves, the more we come to know and understand what I would call higher truths. That we are love, and that we are made for the purpose of love. That we have an energy and a spirit within us that tells us what is true for us and what is not. We have a barometer within us, which is that flame of the soul that tells us when we are in situations that are not in supportive of our soul's unfolding or our life's purpose. And it also gives us a sense of comfort and ease and contentment when we are in those right spaces. It's almost like we have a compass or a temperature gauge which within us that says, yes, you're on the right path, you're moving into danger, or no, you're definitely not in the right path, get out. These are all the various functions and uses of that soul, that flame of the divine that dwells within us. So when Paul is talking about spirit, he's talking about this flame of the divine within us, the flame of our soul. Our soul comes to us to aid our weakness. As human beings, we are limited. We're limited in our perceptions. We're limited by our past wounds. We're limited by trauma. We're limited by our conditioning. We're limited by our own abilities. When the spirit, when the soul is working through us, we can know for certain that that's what's unfolding, because what we see is off as an outcome is often far beyond what we could imagine ourselves as being capable of. So for example, when I read my book, Authentic Freedom, or I read my book, Song of the Beloved, I can't believe I wrote those, because in a sense, I didn't. They were written through me. And I look back on those words and the content and I'm like, oh my God, who wrote this? This is really good. And I know it wasn't me. I feel very humbled when I read those words. I experience the same thing when I'm working with clients. I will often hear words coming out of my mouth that were not part of my thinking process. And I don't know where they're coming from, but in a sense, I do know where they're coming from. This is that flame of the soul. This is the spirit working through us. For those that are listening and participating in this service, if you've taken my class, What's Your Magic, you know what I'm talking about. This idea of charisms. The gifts that are here, the gifts that we've been given that are in support of our soul's purpose, but are ultimately here to serve others. And we know that it's a charism when the outcome is far beyond what we really think or believe that we are humanly capable of. So this is the spirit that comes to aid our weakness. It is also the same spirit that draws us into that intimate relationship with divine. It is that spirit that brings us into the kinds of spiritual practices that are going to work with us as individuals. For me, spiritual practice is anything that can help us to get to a place of peace, contentment, joy, and a place where we can be open to hearing that deeper wisdom that is beyond our own intellectual knowledge, where we can hear the voice of our soul, where we can hear the voice of God. It is that spirit that draws us toward that which will serve the growth of our own soul's purpose. We also know that spirit by what Amy Grant calls the power, and it's the energy within us that she says drives us crazy. It's the energy of restlessness, of frustration, of boredom. It's the energy that compels us to seek. It's the energy that tells us when the space that we're in has become too small or is not reflective of our soul's purpose anymore. And it's the energy within us that makes us feel crazy. We feel restless. We feel impatient. We feel imprisoned. The image that I get when I think of that power is the butterfly that's wrapped up in the chrysalis and is getting ready to emerge. How its butterfly form has become very uncomfortable in the constraint of the chrysalis. The energy that says, I'm done being a caterpillar, I need to fly, and wants to burst forth out of that chrysalis so that the wings can be unfolded. They can dry and strengthen and begin to carry it aloft. It's the same energy that a snake feels when it's outgrown its skin. And it gets impatient and frustrated and it starts to wiggle so that it can peel off and wiggle that old skin off of its body so that it can continue to grow. It's the same energy of labor. The body, the baby saying, I'm too big for this space. I'm ready to be out. And it begins that process of impatiently, frustratingly, painfully pushing the baby out of the mother's womb and into the earth, into the world. This is the energy of that divine spirit within us that says, it's time to move. It's time to go. It's time to emerge. It's time to explore. It's time to find ourselves and our mission and move through the inner obstacles that are keeping us from doing that. This is the flame of the soul. And I invite us all to move into a few moments of silence to reflect on that idea of the flame of the soul, to examine where in our lives we've been conscious of that energy of that divine fire within us, that energy that makes us restless, that causes us to seek, that drives us crazy, that energy that tells us what is truth for us and what is not, that energy that is of discernment, and that energy that ultimately is drawing us closer and closer and closer to our true self and our origin in oneness. Oneness with ourselves, oneness with that which some might call God, oneness with each other, and oneness with all of creation. And so we'll enter into a few moments of silence as we allow those revelations to come forward for us. Thank you for taking the time to reflect and explore the topic of soul within yourself. And I want to share these words as our closing for today from the Mother Mary Oracle deck. And the card that I pulled is Our Lady of Holy Fire. And these are her words to us today. To live is to burn, to grow and to ignite the heart and soul with passionate devotion to higher purpose. I ask you to honor me, even when it seems like what you love is burning away, or what you have believed in is failing you. I ask you to remain open to me, even if you are in shock, denial, or feel betrayed or broken. To live with an open heart is for the brave souls that love me and are capable of loving the world. I bring you holy fire. It burns through me as spiritual passion and ignites now in you also, my child. You are to receive this fire now and set the heart of the world aflame. Thank you.